Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to review the 2018 horror thriller Bad Samaritan, a film that is directed by Dean Devlin, and if that name rings a bell, he was, in years gone by, the producer and right-hand man of Roland Emmerich, who brought us films like Independence Day, and has now moved into directing his own movies, and previously he has directed films like Geostorm. And this film stars David Tennant from Doctor Who fame and an Irish actor called Robert Sheenan, and he plays a character called Sean Falco. And this film focuses on his character Sean, who works as a valet with his best friend in America, and they have got this scam going where basically when people drop the cars off, if they think they're well-to-do, what they do is, while they're inside eating in the restaurant, one of them will see if they can figure out where they live. If they're fairly local, they'll drive off and rob the house, but not steal anything major, just little bits and pieces like credit cards or any money or bits of jewellery and stuff that won't easily be missed. And they've been doing this a while. And this one fateful night, David Tennant's character Cole, what's it called, Ehrenreich, turns up in a beautiful Maserati, and these guys' eyes light up. They think we're going to rob this guy, and because he gets out and he's a bit grumpy with them, to say the least, David Tennant, that doubly makes them think they're going to rob him. So Sean heads off in the Maserati, and he only lives something like 3 miles away. He heads to his house, thinks he's hit the jackpot, finds a credit card, but also finds something he doesn't expect, and that is a lady in a locked room tied to a chair, basically. And clearly David Tennant's character is not a nice man. He's some kind of crazy serial killer. He's got like a kill room in the house, all that kind of stuff. So he gets out, makes an anonymous call to the police. As you can imagine, the police find nothing, but Sean's morals won't let him just leave it. He has to try and save this girl because he feels like he let her down because he didn't get her out. So he keeps trying to make the police convinced that this is real, the FBI, everybody, and nobody will really believe him. And then when David Tennant figures out, his character Cole, that he's onto him, he then makes it his mission to make Sean's life a living hell. He gets into his life, he disrupts his relationship with his girlfriend, he forces his mum and dad to lose their jobs. I mean, he really messes him about, and he actually says at one point in the movie, the only reason you're not in prison is because you're in my prison now. So he makes his life a living hell, basically, and targets everyone that he knows and loves. And he's a very organised, systematic serial killer, and that's very, very clear when you watch the film. So that's the movie, basically. Now, I've heard some good things about this movie, and I've heard some bad things about this movie. What's my thoughts on this movie? I've got to say, I quite enjoyed this movie, guys. I thought it was really, really well made, nicely paced, really well acted. I thought David Tennant in particular played a wonderful baddie. He's got that edge to him, he's got that manic edge to him that you saw occasionally when he did Doctor Who, and you see it in other stuff that he does. You can tap into that, and he makes a wonderful bad guy. I've not seen him in the Marvel TV show that he did, but I've heard, the one where he was the bad guy in that, I've heard he's good in that as well. But he's great in this, he plays a great part. And also, I think Robert Sheenan, who plays Sean in this movie, does a really, really good performance too. He's like, he wants to be a photographer, so he's got that artistic side of him, but he's like a crook with a heart, and he's got these really deep morals, and he can't let go. So he's a really nicely fleshed out character, I thought. There are other characters in the film that aren't nowhere near as well fleshed out, like his best friend, bit cliched and generic, and I don't think they do enough with his girlfriend in the movie in a sense of developing that. She's just there as a plot device, and there are other things in the movie that are just there as a plot device. So it isn't perfect, this movie. It can be accused of being a little bit predictable at times, and it does follow a bit of a generic path at times as well, but it's done so well, it's still really engaging and watchable. The difference with if you watch a film that's fairly predictable and reasonably generic, and it's done poorly, and they do all these cheap tropes, it just becomes boring and you lose interest. This film doesn't do that. It doesn't use a lot of cheap tropes. It tries a couple of jump scares that don't work. I think they're a bit cheap, but they didn't need them because David Tennant's performance is so electric and so fun. I don't think they realised what they had, and it might be down to the inexperience of the director, Dean Devlin. I don't think he realised what he had with David Tennant in this movie, because he was the movie, basically. Him and Robert Sheehan, who played Sean, they were the movie. They were the two forces in this movie, and they both give really, really great performances. So they didn't need all the cheap stuff surrounding that, I don't think. They make out, as they do in movies like this, that the police force are moronic. You know, when he goes to the police force and they don't believe him, even though it's clear when the police talk to David Tennant that, you know, any decent police detective would have picked up a couple of vibes there, you know, and a couple of things trying to cover his tracks here and there. No, they didn't believe a word of it, even though he's got picture evidence of this woman tied up. Oh man, so it made out that the police were moronic and that the FBI were, even though they did get involved, that they were a bit useless as well. So, and it's only really Sean that can save the day. So there was that kind of stuff in the movie that you get in these types of films. You know, all the police forces and everything are absolutely useless. And you can kind of guess who's going to get killed in the movie, even though it's not like a high body count or anything. But I really enjoyed the ending. There was some really, really genuinely tense-filled moments in this film. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was frightening. I think it's more thriller than horror, but there are some horror elements in there. And like I say, it's very, very watchable, is this film. David Tennant is fantastic in the part and very, very good, and I enjoyed it. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It ain't perfect, you've seen this kind of stuff before, but it is very, very watchable, guys. So thank you very much for watching.